Hello, and welcome back to the Self-Starter Podcast. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about everything you need to know before starting a permanent jewelry business in 2025. If you have been on the fence about whether or not you want to open a permanent jewelry business, this episode is for you. We're going to dive into all of the specifics about what you should be considering and what you need to know before you make the decision. Hello, and welcome to the Self-Starter Podcast, where I'll be sharing the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to building a product-based business. I'm Brithinee, and I started my business making beaded bracelets in my living room. Over the last 8 years, I've turned it into 2 successful businesses with over 10 team members and a busy storefront. Needless to say, I've learned a lot along the way. This show is for no gatekeeping and no fluff. Just the lessons I've learned, the mistakes I've made, some funny stories I've gathered along the way, and the honest truths you need to hear. We'll talk about the big decisions, the moments no one can prepare you for, and those times you realize that it's worth all the sleepless nights. Think of me as your business big sister, here to cheer you on while you build a business that truly feels like you. If that sounds like what you need, you are in the right place. Let's get into it. Let's first talk about what permanent jewelry even is. So instead of having a clasp, it is just a custom fit chain to you, and then the 2 ends of that chain are welded closed. It is just a chain piece of jewelry without a clasp. You can add charms onto it if you want, or you can leave it plain, but it is not fully permanent. Case in point, I had to have surgery a couple of months ago, and I just simply cut my bracelets off. I feel like you can't cut something off that's permanent. So it is definitely a semi-permanent situation where you can't just take it off when you want to. I mean, you could cut it off, but it would ruin it. You'd have to get it re-welded back on. So you can't simply take it on and off daily, but you can cut it off if you want and then get it re-welded back on when you're ready to have it back on. The popularity of permanent jewelry has just taken off over the past couple of years, and I understand why. People are drawn to the fact that they don't have to take their jewelry off, which honestly, I don't take even my stretchy bracelets off, my necklaces that have clasps. I don't take any of my jewelry off except for my earrings. So I can see why having a piece of permanent jewelry is nice. You don't have to deal with the clasp and you're not going to take it off anyway. It's also so nice to have something that's custom fit to you. A lot of my bracelets that I've purchased over the years are way too big because I have pretty small wrists. So having something custom fit to you so that it can fit you perfectly is so nice. And then lastly, you can customize it however you want. So you can add different charms like birthstones or letters. We offer a bunch of different stuff because we manufacture our own charms. And so we're able to offer, any kind of charm basically that somebody would want, we are able to offer. And that kind of really sets us apart. When considering starting any business, one of the first things that comes to mind is, what is the investment? What are the startup costs associated with starting this business? I think a lot of people get into permanent jewelry because they think it'll be super lucrative and really quick and easy money. And although it can absolutely be a really sound financial and successful business decision, it is not easy by any means. Running a business is hard. There's so much that goes into it that people don't realize, and it's much more involved than popping up a tent, setting up a table, and welding bracelets onto a customer. If you want to set your business up to be successful in the long run, which of course that's the point, at least I hope that's the point if you're considering starting a business, you need a reliable welder, high quality materials, and all of the proper equipment. Giving a ballpark estimate of how much that costs, it's going to be around $8,000. I know that sounds like a lot of money, but truly, you want to do this the right way. Just to give you a quick overview of some of the things that might include, for pop-ups, it would be a table, a tent, chairs, tablecloths, signage, any of your jewelry displays, charm displays, and then of course for welding, you need the welder, pliers, cutters, safety glasses, magnifying light, jump rings, chain, charms, and then any displays that go along with that. Any kind of handouts you want about private parties or business cards or any kind of signage that you have on your table with your displays. You'll also need argon and a regulator to go with it, some sort of POS system, and if you're using a card reader or a tablet with that. And then lastly, you need something to carry everything in. Those are just the bare minimum things. That doesn't include anything that would help your brand stand apart, like a branded tablecloth or different decor items. Going along with having a business is also having really high high quality supplies. And this is one of the things that I struggled with the most when I started my business, was finding reliable suppliers that I knew I could count on time and time and time again. And I do own a jewelry supply business, SP Jewelry Supply. I will have it linked in the show notes. Obviously, there are a lot of different reliable suppliers, so I'm not saying only shop with us, obviously. We do manufacture our own charms, and we can do custom charms. That is something that differentiates us from a lot of the other companies, but again, there are a lot of really good, high quality, reputable suppliers, and having suppliers you can trust and have in your corner is imperative to being successful. There are so many scams out there. There are so many people that claim different things. And one thing to note while you're looking at suppliers is if the price seems too good to be true, it absolutely is. And gold filled and sterling silver are the two materials that are the most popular in permanent jewelry. Gold fill cannot be cast. So if you see a 3D shape of any kind that looks like metal was poured into some sort of a shape and melted, that is not gold filled. If it says 18 karat gold filled over sterling silver, copper, brass, whatever, that is not gold filled. The US has very specific guidelines and laws about what gold filled is, and US gold filled is very different from gold fill, or what they call gold fill, in other countries. Brazil is pretty popular for having 18 karat gold fill, and I'm saying that in quotes because it is not the same quality standards that we have in the States. Gold filled in general is a very US thing. So if you are looking at gold filled materials, that's just something to be aware of. And if you're looking at suppliers, avoid things if they seem too good to be true. Let's talk about training and certifications. Training is not necessary. I actually used to offer a training course, and I stopped offering it because I think that there's so much information online and you don't need to pay for training. So I morally didn't want to be associated with the amount of scams that there are in that industry, and so I quit offering it. So if that gives you any idea, if you are brand new, I would say do not do training, but that is just my personal opinion. And then as far as certifications, there's no such thing as a permanent jewelry certification. If somebody's offering training, they're just going to print out a certificate for you saying that you completed training. That does not certify you in anything. There's no regulations. There's nothing that you need to be certified in to do permanent jewelry. Let's move on to the business side of it, because this I think gets skipped over all too often, and I wish that it didn't. It is so important to legitimize your business and file the correct paperwork, get everything set up the right way. Figure out what is required in your state. Every state is different, and every state calls things different things, which is so annoying because it's hard to give generalized advice when things are just different in every state. At a minimum, you'll want to file your business in whatever entity you want, whether that's a sole proprietorship or you want an LLC, however you want to file your business, do that. And then secondly, you'll want a sales tax license. This can be called a bunch of different things: a reseller's license, a seller's license, a sales tax license. There's a bunch of different things. This is a license telling your state that you are going to charge tax to the end user. Sales tax has to be charged, assuming that you live in a state that has sales tax. Sales tax has to be charged to the end user. So if you are a business selling to a consumer, then the consumer would pay the sales tax. Sales tax doesn't need to be collected in multiple different stages of the transaction. So a manufacturer will make a product, they will not charge sales tax to the wholesaler. The wholesaler will not charge sales tax to the retailer, but then the retailer does need to charge sales tax to the final consumer. So that's kind of where it goes. The sales tax has to be charged somewhere in the line, and your reseller's license will make it so that you're not paying sales tax on your supplies, and then you are committing to charging sales tax to your end user. You also need to set up business insurance. This is so important. It will protect you, it will protect your business, and it will protect your customers. I have an insurance broker because I feel like that's just the easiest way for me to do it, but I have my machine that I make the custom charms with. I have my welders, my employees, all of my inventory. And if something happened to one of my welders and I couldn't use it, I would actually get money for that because I would have lost income from it. So you can set it up however you want, but you absolutely need business insurance. It will protect everything. If you were doing a pop-up and a freak storm came through and knocked over your welder, or somebody walked by and stole all of your chain, insurance is the only way you are going to be protected against that. Next to wondering how much it's going to cost to get started, People want to know how fast they will pay off the investment that they're making. And this totally depends on how busy you are, how you're pricing things, what your margins are, all of that. But let's talk about pricing for a minute. You need to decide where you want to fall in the market. If you want to be a super high-end, luxurious brand, your pricing is going to be higher than it would be if you are a trendy boutique that's selling $20 t-shirts. I mentioned it before, but you will need a POS system and then either a card reader, a tablet, however you're going to work that. I personally use Shopify. It is the absolute best platform in my opinion. I'm able to book appointments and take a deposit for all of those appointments straight through one of the plugins on there. It connects to my tablet. I have an iPad set up, and then we also have the Shopify card reader where they can tap or insert their card. And all of that goes onto the same back end. It keeps track of my inventory of all of our sales. I can run all of our reports for what has sold, how many bow charms sold in October of 2023. Like I can look up all of those things. So Shopify for me is just the absolute best. Once you have the logistical side of it down, what machine do you want to buy? What suppliers are you going to order from? How much are you going to order to start? All of those things. You need to start considering marketing. Creating a customer avatar is super helpful. When you're going through and thinking about your target market, the more specific you can be, the better. And I'm talking specific. This could be an example of your customer avatar. So you want to share who they are, what they like, what their interests are, how much money they make, where they live, what they drive, what their hobbies are, everything. This is Alexa. She's 34 years old. She's married to her college sweetheart, and she has two sons that are 2 and 4 years old. She lives in the Chicago suburbs, and she drives a white Bronco. Between her and her husband, they make about $250,000 a year. She's in marketing, and he's in finance. She is definitely done having kids and has entered her fitness era. So she likes to go to Pilates with her girlfriends twice a week. And then she also has ClassPass. So then she'll test out different gyms on the other days that she wants to work out. On Tuesdays, she goes to work a little bit later. So she meets up with her best friend who also has a son that is 2. And they get coffee and go for a walk. She likes to do game nights. She meets up with friends regularly for happy hours or has people over for wine because a lot of her friends have kids too. So all of the kids will just come over and they will all hang out. She gets her nails done every 2 weeks, but it's always a neutral color. And it's the only thing she really splurges on. Everything else is quality over quantity. So she has nice clothing pieces, but nothing super flashy or brand name. And you're not going to find a million pieces of clothing in her closet. She has kind of almost a capsule wardrobe, but it's really nice, high quality pieces. She's conscious about where she spends her money, but she's absolutely willing to splurge on something if she really wants it or if it's good quality. Okay, I'm hoping now that you were able to get a clear picture of who Alexa is. You'll be able to talk to her more personally than you would be able to talk to a more generic target audience, like women between the ages of 30 and 60 who enjoy working out and jewelry. That's so broad, it's anyone. Having a more clear picture of exactly who you're talking to and who you're targeting can make your marketing and your messaging so much more clear. One of the biggest aspects of starting a permanent jewelry business is being comfortable online and posting on social media, as well as growing your email list. Marketing and getting the word out about your business is so incredibly important. You can build the most amazing business or the most amazing product, but if nobody knows about it, you will not be successful. That means building a community, posting regularly online, and creating relationships with key business owners in the area. Lastly, I want to talk about some of the mistakes that people make because they're pretty easy to fix, but it does take effort. One of the biggest mistakes I see people making is not having the proper equipment or material. You do not want to weld plated jewelry onto somebody just to have it tarnish, and then with that tarnishing, your business name tarnishes as well. Having a high quality, reliable machine and high quality materials that you know you can put your name behind is imperative to having a successful business long term. Not legitimizing your business. I could literally yell this from the rooftops. You need to file your business with your state, period. End of story, non-negotiable. The same goes for insurance and also sales tax. I know that sales tax is, in Michigan at least, it's 6%. 6% doesn't seem like that much, but 6% adds up to a lot of money. If you're not charging sales tax and then paying sales tax to your state, they will come after you at some point and you are going to owe a lot of money. And I promise you that you will regret not charging it in the first place. This is a really honest one and it might sound harsh, but truly, if it sounds harsh to you, you probably need to hear it. Being lazy about trying to get events. I see so many people complaining about not being able to get pop-ups, But if you reach out to 10 businesses and you don't hear back, you have not tried hard enough. You need to reach out to 75 or 100 businesses, and each email needs to be completely different. Each email needs to be personalized to that business owner with their name and something personal in it. I actually have a template of this on my Instagram. It's saved in one of my highlights. This should not be a copy and paste and then send it to everybody. If you want to pop up at a business, the least you can do is spend an extra 5 minutes to send a more personalized email. Your yeses will come more often, but either way, it's a numbers game. You have to reach out to more people than just 10 and then say it's not working. Lastly, you have to price appropriately. If you price yourself too low, you're not taking into consideration all of the other expenses that you have, and you're also underselling your products. And then on the other side, if you're pricing too high and you're not delivering that caliber of service, then you're not going to attract the right customers. I hope that that was helpful for you, just to know a little bit about permanent jewelry, what goes into starting, and things that you should be thinking about if you are considering starting a permanent jewelry business. If this is something that is on your heart to do, then I hope that you go for it. I'm so excited for you that you're even considering a business, because owning your own business is the absolute best. I wish everyone could be an entrepreneur because I love it so much, although I know not everyone is meant to be. If you're really serious about starting, I'm going to give you a little bit of homework. The first thing I want you to do is look up how to file your business and your sales tax license in your state. And then the second thing I want you to do is start making a list of reputable suppliers. Those are 2 things that you can start crossing off of your list to take steps towards opening your business. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, I would really appreciate it if you give this podcast a 5-star rating. I want to reach as many people as possible, and share it with a friend if you know somebody else who's wanting to start their own business. Don't forget to subscribe. It means the absolute world to me, and I will see you next time. Bye.